Now, tonight is of course the eve of our next test, which will be tomorrow. Now, I have prepared a couple of activities tonight. We have, of course, some reading activity. We will learn another writing input later tonight. But first, let's have some listening together. So I have here, guys, some material I'd like us to try out. This may be a little challenging because the pace is fast, but I'd like you guys to be able to try this out yourselves. So let's have first a copy of the material. Let's get one and pass, please. The first set, guys, is basically a typical form or notes completion. So the situation is, there is a woman named Mrs. Blank who would like to ask for someone from this Sinclair Electrical Services company to come over her place because her television is broken, so it needs to be repaired. So you're looking for her last name over here, where in Somerton she lives, so some number and road name probably, and her phone contact details. Now, as soon, guys, as number 3 is given, you jump to number 4. So there's no pause here, it goes straight away. So you are allowed here to write 3 words, just like over here. So what is the problem with the television? So it's a phrase. And what may have caused that particular problem, number 5? Number 6, TV make is the model, no, not the model, but rather the brand name. Whereas the model number is, of course, a combination of letters and numbers, so get that. So that's number 6. And number 7 can be a little tricky because you might hear, guys, 2 time or 2 years that she'll talk about, but get the one that pertains to the age of the television. So how old is the TV? Now for number 8, we have here some mini map. I'd like us, guys, to be aware of some new vocabulary here you might have not heard of before. Take a look at this part over here. What is that called, guys? Curve? Could be a curve.
Narrow.
Another word for a curve is a bend. Yeah. So, guys, this can be called a bend, which is a noun, or it can also be a verb. Like in this case, the road bends where?
To the right.
To the right, correct. In all choices, the road bends to the right. This particular road is off High Street. Oops. It is off High Street, just like Print Place is off Birmingham Drive. If you are familiar with your directions here, you first run down or run along Birmingham Drive, and if you are from, say, the north, you have to turn right to Print Place.
Yeah.
So therefore, Print Place is off Birmingham Drive. Okay? Hihiwalay ka na sa main road and go to Print Place. So this, therefore, street over here is off the High Street. And look at where the X is located. Now, in letter A, the X is before the bend. So is letter B. But letter C, no, this is after the bend. Now, another crucial difference here is where the X is found, whether it's on the left or on the right of the road. In letter A, it's on the right. B, the opposite side. Whereas C would be on the left. Because when you walk from here, you turn to the right, then this will be on your left. It's after the bend. So those are 2 critical things. Now, just a heads up, the audio part for this particular question is a little damaged, but you should still be able to get the correct answer. Okay? That's number 8. Now for number 9 and 10, fairly easy parts. When is the guy coming to her place? And number 10, how did she know about Sinclair Electrical Services? Let's give it a try, guys. Let's now listen and get the answers.
Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Okay, guys. Now this time, let's try out section 2. There will be 2 sets here, so here's the first, right? Now, you'll be listening to a guy who will talk about the different programs on air on Radio 6. So we have the different times, the different programs on the right. So the first program is Animal Talk at 7 p.m. When is charity broadcast airing? So get the time here. Could be, a good guess. Guys, look at the time. It's dot, not colon. Just follow the format here. Now at 8 p.m., what's on show? Number 2. Number 3 is at 8:30. What's your view? It's all about the effects of the what. Alright, guys. In number 3, I'd also like you to get one more bit of information because What's Your View is a phone-in program. Do you guys know what a phone-in program is?
No idea.
But what's your guess? Phone-in. It's a radio show, but it's also a phone-in program, meaning
Recordable.
no. Yes, Miss Betty? You said
The audience can call or...
yes, the listeners can make a call to engage in the conversation or maybe ask something. So that's a phone-in program. Now, I'd like you guys to get the number that you have to call to participate in this program. So that's the other item over here. This is a challenge, okay? So there are 2 number 3s here, and then number 4 is showing at 9. And then the last item here is the Book of the Week series. The title is Just So Stories, in particular, How the Blank Was Written. Alright? We might repeat, guys, this part over here because this is a little fast, this part. But let's give it a try. Alright? Here we go.
The time is 6:55 on Thursday, October the 15th.
But some did not. Okay, let's listen to it one more time, alright? Here we go.
And now, some more information about our major new documentary series, Animal Talk, which explores the fascinating area of animal communication. Tonight's programme compares the communication systems used by 2 of the world's largest creatures, the killer whale and the elephant. Although these might seem like very different creatures, in fact there are a lot of similarities between them.
What are those?
They're both mammals,
Mammals.
they both live in groups, and the social bonds they form are extremely strong.
What was that?
Home.
The social bonds they form are extremely strong.
Social bonds.
So the answer is social bonds. Okay, I'll flash them shortly, okay? And their social bonds. He gave another clue. Listen to what he meant by social bonds. Listen.
For example, when a new elephant is born, the others in the group will all gather round to greet it.
There you go. So they have a strong social bond because if there's a newborn elephant, all other elephants gather around to maybe celebrate the newborn elephant. Now, listen to number 7, guys.
They also live for a long time, like humans, and their brains are very large.
And their brains are very large. So what's large? Brains. So see, guys, that the key word is written first here, but spoken after in the listening drill. So just be careful with that. That happens many times in the actual test. Now, did you get number 8?
So,
Yes.
Was it sounds?
sound.
It was just sound. Yes. So just no plural noun there. So let's. Okay, that's number 1. That's number 7. Sound. How about number 9?
Silent
We
singing.
call it silent singing. Silent singing. And number 10,
Feet.
they use their feet. Yeah. And here, we will have 2 individuals speaking to one another. The guy or the student is named Elliot, and he will speak with his professor. Now, Elliot has 2 problems about the first part of his essay, because Elliot has to make an essay about something. Now, note that This is 2 items for only number 1, which means you have to get both or you don't get any mark as a result. So 2 answers are, or is this problem insufficient research? Is it lacking organization? Lacking concrete examples? The focus is narrow as opposed to wide, broad focus, includes irrelevant material, or the evidence is insufficient. Now, guys, there is no pause between this number and number 2. So take a look at guys question number 2 here. Captive breeding, introduction, a blank of captive breeding. What do you think will be your cue that you should now be in number 2? What are the keyword or phrases you would hear to tell you it should be number 2 now? You will hear captive breeding as early as here. So, yes, Jason?
Hear the introduction.
Yes. If you hear the word introduction, you should be in number 2 already. Okay? Now, I'm telling this because in the past, without this warning, many students are still looking at number 1 when number 3 is already given. Okay? So you need to pay attention to your keywords so you are on track. Now, first of all, do you guys know what captive breeding is? Any idea what captive breeding is? Breeding. I'm speaking with the word breeding.
Lahi. Lahi. Jeans.
Breeding. It's in this case, it's a verb. Breeding. What do you do when you breed? Like when you breed cows, when you breed lamb, chicken. What do you do? You, Joey. Huh? You reproduce. Exactly. You reproduce. You make them many. You multiply their numbers. Captive means what?
Taking care.
Free or captured?
Restrained.
Restrained. Maybe in a what?
Captive.
In a cage probably, or not necessarily a small cage, but it could be a sanctuary. It could be a huge conservation area. So in something like that, but it's not totally free range because it's still limited space. It's often an artificial environment. Just like guys, what happened to our monkey-eating eagle in the Philippines, if you are familiar with that. You know the bird pag-asa? Pag-asa was the first eagle bred in captivity. Have you heard that phrase before? In other words, they were not bred in the wild by themselves. They were bred using controlled environments. Maybe scientists were there. That's what's done, guys, to pandas, to koalas even. The eagle also, and some endangered species. Okay, so that's captive breeding. So, what does the professor say that Elliot should include in his introduction? A what of captive breeding? Okay, then he should talk about what are the advantages and the disadvantages of captive breeding. So, captive breeding allows preservation of species from extinction. It could give new function for what in the future? Meaning, yeah, possible, but what specific environment? That's number 3 here. It allows reintroduction of species into the wild. But the problem is, captive breeding is what? Number 4. There's also psychological effects of the animals. Number 5, there's a danger of blank also from captive animals and poor success of reintroduction. So let's listen. Number 1, guys, is one of the most missed items here, so let's listen. And here we go.
Dr. Ran?
Oh, come in, Elliot.
Now let's try out the second set at the bottom. In this set, guys, your goal is to classify. This is another classified kind of question in listening, where you determine whether the information here, number 6 to 10, is very important, less important, or the importance cannot be determined because there's no data available for that. So you listen guys to each of the items here and determine what does Elliot say. Take note, you're looking for just his perspective, not the professor, not anybody else, but Elliot, the guy. So what does he think about number 6 to 10? Is training in survival skills before release very important, less important, or cannot be determined? Number 7, food and shelter. Employment and education, number 8. Medical screening, and number 10, acclimatization. So watch out for these key terms because these will be mentioned by the speaker. Alright? Let's go to them one by one now and get the correct answer. Listen towards the very end, right? Because that's where the answers are given usually.
Now, your next section's on requirements for successful release of these animals into the wild.
Right? Now, for the last section, guys, there are 2 parts here again. The first part looks something like this. You have to complete this flow chart where a lady will talk about the so-called Doxy's Iridex model of tourism. Doxy is the author of this model. Iridex is just a shortened version of the words irritation index. So it shows us the different stages of tourism. The first is called euphoria, then there's apathy, there's annoyance, and antagonism. So there are items to look for in each category here. So can you please take a look at the text one by one? I'll give you about 1 to 2 minutes to read through, or a few seconds to read through numbers 1 to 5. In the second step below, you have to complete the summary. Now guys, it will happen again in this set, that kind of trick that the answers come before the keywords. So watch out for number 7 in particular. That's the case there. So she'll now talk about some criticisms against Doxy's model. It's been criticized to having what kind of view? But in reality, what are more complex and varied? That's number 7 over here. The positives of tourism, we have what's revitalized, for the keyword there. Also, we create jobs for whom? Kinds of people over here. And what do they learn? Number 10. That's very clear here. Hope you all get that. So let's start with number 1. Look at number 1, please. Number 1, can you read number 1?
Number 1,
Yeah.
on which course do you need to move around the city?
So the keyword is move around the city. How about number 2?
On which 2 courses can learn ways to make people laugh?
To make people laugh. Take note, we're asked for 2 courses, which means number 2 should have 2 letters. Number 3,
Which course takes you around in a boat?
in a boat or on a boat. It could be a big boat, right? So highlight that. And number 4,
Which 2 courses last more 2 weeks?
it
More than 2
lasts
weeks.
more than 2 weeks. It lasts more than 2 weeks. Now, I'm not really sure how well your photocopy is there, guys, but there's this one line in letter E. Can you take a look at add letter E here? Because it's not so clear there. Can you please take a look at the one on the board? That's the clear version. Can you read that? That's NIDA for January, 22 January. Can you please take note of that? For 22 January. Okay, so we're looking for moving around, We're looking for making a slab. We're looking for boat. We're looking for more than 2 weeks. Alright, so once we've done that, we now move on to the items. Let's take a look at A and decide whether we have any from 1 to 4 mentioned in A. It says here, Australia's School of Stand-Up Comedy. Do we have a clue here on the title alone? Stand-up comedy.
People laugh.
Yeah, stand-up comedy. Let's go further and see if that's the case. So Star Bar, next course in February. Australia's School of Stand-Up Comedy, 5-week course. Welcome to Australia's School of Stand-Up Comedy. This course was designed to take you step by step into the mind and world of the stand-up comic. So, do we agree? That's number 2. A stand-up comic is somebody who makes people laugh. Now, do we have any other items there? It's a 5-week course. It matches number 4. More than 2 weeks. It's a 5-week course. So we have now A found, or numbers 2 and 4 found in letter A. Okay, let's go to letter B, guys. Dance classes, the war, daily, various times. Adult classes, Sydney Dance Company, dance studios run over 70 dance classes for adults every week. Located at Sydney Dance Company at the Wharf. Dance styles on offer include jazz, funk, hip hop, tap, contemporary, and more. Do you have a match there?
No.
There is none. There's no mention of making people laugh. There's no mention of time here. There's no boat. So we're good. Nothing in letter B. Okay, let's take a look at letter C, guys. Photography for our workshop, Bohemian and Colonial Sydney Walking Tour. Discover or Sydney City East area, December 9 to 30 January. No, December 19 and 30 and January 2. So this cannot be more than 2 weeks, right? Only 3 days. Okay, discover and capture Sydney's lesser known landmarks whilst improving your photographic skills on this fun and informal digital photography walking tour. Suitable for all photographers. What do you think?
One.
It requires us to move around, walking tour. So clearly, we find number 1 in letter C. Anything else, guys? Take note, in numbers 2 and 4, we're supposed to have 2, right? How about number 3? None yet. Okay, let's take a look at, guys, letter D. DJ Bootcamp and PO's 8-day 3-island DJ course cruise. Sydney Harbour, September 22 to 29, the 7 days only. Okay, so Australia's first professional DJ cruise, P&O and DJ Bootcamp have learned up to bring an amazing 8 days, 3-island professional DJ training course cruise. One prize includes room, meals, entertainment, and island, more. So what is the case here, guys?
Number 3.
It's a cruise. Therefore, this in a boat. Therefore, we find number, or letter D, I mean, number 3, I mean, yes, and letter D. Correct. Alright, now, can you figure out, guys, the other 2 items, 2 and 4, because we're supposed to have 1 other letter there. Can you figure it out yourselves? So, answer numbers 2 and 4, locate them. Can you now take a look at that part, guys? Alright, I'd like you to answer that set for about, how many items are there? There are 6, right? Yeah, 5 to 10. Can you do this in about 7 minutes? Yes, please, Harvey, number 5.
Tells you what to do about medicines you might need.
Which one is it?
It's number 9.
It is number 9, correct. It says here, if you require any prescription medication, remember to pack an adequate supply. That is number 9, matching with number 5, correct. Number 6, Eric?
Advises you to take certain documents in your hand luggage. My answer is number 2.
That's actually correct. What is that document?
contract.
Yes,
Accommodate-
your
accommodation.
accommodation contract. Correct. So number 6 is 2. 7, yes, Betty?
Tells you what documents you need to apply for a visa. Number 4.
Okay. Did anyone say choose number 1?
One.
Okay. Let's compare those two, okay? Because 1 is only correct. Actually, it is no. Only 1 is correct. Number 4 is correct. It's not number 1. Why? Let's read. Okay. You are looking for the site that tells you what documents you need to apply for a visa. Says here, number 1, read the joining instructions from your college carefully and use your unconditional offer and the letter for immigration purposes to apply for a visa or entry clearance. It does say something about letters for immigration and the unconditional offer to apply for a visa or entry clearance. But it doesn't say, guys, what are the documents you need to apply for a visa in abroad. Says it's very specific as regards a kind of visa. But if you go to number 4, notice, guys, that you have to apply for a visa for some time, and to know what to do, you have to go to this particular website. Okay? So therefore, between 1 and 4, the better answer is 4. Yes, Chase, number 8. Yes. Jason, right? Yeah, number 8. Yeah.
Advises you to check health requirements for entering the country.
Which one is it?
10.
Is it 10? Okay. Advise check health requirements. The medical history is not a requirement really. So they're not the same. It's something else. What is it? It's not number 9 either.
11.
Because that's your medication. Health requirements, yes?
11.
It is 11, correct. Guys, the keywords are check the current position. Meaning, what is the current requirement as regards vaccination certificates? Therefore, the requirements are found in number 11. Okay, Ellie, how about your number 9?
Warns you about an airline policy.
Which one is it?
Number 6.
It is number 6. That policy is about baggage. So therefore, 9 is found in 6. Correct. And number 10. Yes, Johnny?
Advises you to bring documents showing your housing arrangement. Found in number 2.
It is number 2. Correct. And guys, the number that's been used more than once is number 2. It's used in number 6 and 10. You didn't even sabihin, guys, na use the number more than once. Hindi siya. The number, unlike the meaning, has multiple answers. No. Because the other clue here is write the correct number. Okay. Tama sana, kaya lang. Naglagay ng 2 o 3, perhaps. No? That's why I had to correct, guys, because I'm noticing a pattern in many answers I've noticed as I was looking around. Okay. Guys, can you now try out numbers 11 to 14? Again, pag short answer questions like 11 to 14 on the next page. Registering with a doctor under the NHS. You expect the answers to be arranged sequentially, right? Because these are short answer questions. So can you please find or get the answers for 11 to 14? I'll give you guys 5 minutes. Correctly. So guys, what's number 11? Where must you go to register with a GP? You must go to a surgery. A surgery. That's number 11. Correct. Guys, you might ask, but isn't a surgery a procedure? A surgery is another term for a clinic. A surgery, a clinic. Alright, number 12, what information does your card give?
It's just a number.
What kind of number?
NHS.
NHS number. That's number 12. Okay, how about 13 guys? Who can tell you what the surgery's hours are?
Receptionist.
The receptionist. Where is that? Somewhere over
Paragraph
here.
2.
Okay, and number 14. What should you do if you can't go to an appointment?
Cancel, rearrange.
Cancel, rearrange what?
Appointment.
Appointment, or in this case, the word it is already here, right? Cancel / rearrange it. So you don't need to use the word appointment, the word it is there already. So cancel or / rearrange it. That's number 14. That's 3 words all in all. That's number 14. Alright. Now last step everybody. Working holiday. Again, just like what we had previously, you're supposed to provide responses to the questions found at the bottom. There are again 6 I believe. Yes, 15 to 20. So again, expect the answers to be arranged sequentially. Look for clues in the question, look at it in the text, and get the correct answers. I'll give you guys 7 to 8 minutes on this work. For the next 55 minutes, guys, I'd like to talk about another new thing about essays because this is again in preparation for your test tomorrow. So before, guys, we talk about this new kind of, well, not necessarily new kind of essay, but rather how do I say this? A sort of cross between various kinds. Let's first talk about the different kinds of essays we've learned so far. Now, in general, guys, our essays can be divided according to what they give, what your main task is, and some examples I'll show down below to prove those differences. For example, during our first essay writing session together, we learned about the so-called enumerative essay. And we all learned that this kind of essay provides us a fact, usually a reality or a situation, and your job is to identify at least 2 things about that situation. Can you recall that obesity text we read? You can go to page 29 of your book if you like, just to recall those bits. Page 29. And in that page, we learn about how to respond to a topic that asks us for causes and solutions, problems and solutions, causes and effects, what are the pros and the cons. For example, many young children in the world are becoming overweight. What are the causes of this and what can be done to solve this? That was enumerative. That was your very first mock test essay drill, right? Now, the second kind that we learned about was the opinion. Well, the third actually, because we learned this a couple of days back. Basically, it provides us a suggestion or a statement, and what we're supposed to do is agree or disagree with that. If you take a look at page 31, you have there, guys, a good example of this opinion essay. Can you recall the topic about education and healthcare? And you even wrote, guys, an essay whether homework should be lessened or not. Can you recall that? So that's a good example of an opinion essay question. Now, the third is the balanced argument essay. If you take a look at your page 33, it's there. Normally, guys, this kind of essay provides us 2 opposing views. And what we're supposed to do is discuss both these views and then give our own opinion. There was this topic in that page where you're asked about traveling or just use TV and the internet to learn about other cultures. So you were given those views, you're supposed to discuss and then present your own opinion. So that's the third. Now, we didn't discuss this in detail actually, guys, but there's another kind of balanced argument essay where you are given a situation, and what you're supposed to do is mention whether that situation is more positive or negative. Take a look at the example that's found on the next page, page 34, I believe. Yes. It says there in some countries, people prefer to rent a house than to buy one. Do the advantages of renting a house outweigh its disadvantages? So basically, the outline we use for this kind of balanced argument essay is exactly the same as this one over here, where our opinion, whether it's positive or negative, is written in the third paragraph, and the opposing idea is discussed in the second paragraph. So these guys are the four kinds of essays or kinds of topics or questions we will encounter in the test. And only one of these four will come out. Now, let me test your memory and see if you're able to understand this whole concept here. So I'm going to flash some sample questions that have come out in the previous exams. And you tell me, guys, whether this is a enumerative, opinion, or balanced argument essay A or balanced argument essay B. Take a look at this one over here. We have here, how many views? We have two opposing views. These views are introduced by words like some people say, others say, discuss each view, and present your own view. What is this? An opinion essay only asks you to agree or disagree. Guys, take a look at this slide again. Take a look at this slide again. An opinion essay only asks us to agree or disagree. A balanced argument essay provides two views. The instruction is discuss both views and give opinion. Now, you might be confused because these two essays will ask for your opinion. But in an opinion essay, you're not asked to discuss views. You just simply ask, do you agree or disagree? So, therefore, the one that I showed you earlier is clearly balanced argument essay, the first kind. Okay? Okay, how about this one over here? What is that? Okay, the question is, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Are you asked to agree or disagree?
It's enumerative.
Okay, if it's enumerative, dapat ang tanong lang is, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? It's beyond that right? It's more than that. Ang tanong kasi is, ang mga advantages ba mas nakakalamang kasi sa mga disadvantages? So, it's the other kind of balanced argument essay. Again, let me flash the slide I showed earlier. Okay, the one's on page 34 of your book. Take a look at that. That's over here. Is this a positive or a, no, page 34, not 35. I'm sorry, page 33, I'm sorry, page 33. 33. This is the second kind of balanced argument essay because you're asked whether it is a positive or a negative thing. Now, it may differ in terms of wording, but the idea is still the same. You may be asked, is this positive or negative? Or is this advantageous or more disadvantageous? Do the advantages outweigh the advantages? So, in other words, guys, when you're asked to evaluate whether it's good or bad, it's definitely a balanced argument essay still because you're given another fact. So, therefore, this second topic over here is balanced argument essay B. This is balanced argument essay A. Two views, discuss both views, give your own opinion. Balanced argument essay B asks you whether is this good or bad, advantage or disadvantageous, positive or negative. That's the case. Is it clear? Okay, let's take a look at the third one here. What is this? This one is an opinion. Okay, guys, you can easily tell the kind by just looking at what's asked. Basta agree or disagree, automatic opinion yan. Alright? Magiging balanced argument essay lang siya if it's any of these kinds over here. Okay? Magiging balanced argument essay A if two views, discuss both views and give your own view. Magiging type B naman siya, guys, if we're asked to evaluate whether it's positive or negative, advantageous or disadvantageous. Okay? Now, how about the last one at the bottom, guys? What's that?
Enumerative.
Do you guys agree with Johnny?
Say causes. What are the ways?
Yeah,
You are asked for specific, I think, ideas only. What are the kinds of influences? What are the ways for parents to make sure their kids fall into good company? That's enumerative. Yes. Right? So those are, by the way guys, these are real essay questions. They have come out in the previous tests. Now, I'm gonna ask you to take a look at 4 more, okay? Here are 4 more questions, and I'd like you to tell me whether it's balanced argument essay A, B, whether it's opinion or enumerative. Take a look at these 4. Okay, please keep it to yourself. I'm gonna ask you guys later. Okay, let me ask you, Miss Betty, what's the first topic like? What kind of essay would you use for this time? What is that? It's an opinion essay, correct. How about the second one? What's this, Ellie?
Balance argue letter B.
Are you asking positive or negative? You only use B if ang tanong is this positive or negative, right? That's the question here. The questions are why and how. What's that?
Enumerative.
That's enumerative. That's enumerative. Correct. Now, how about number 3? What is this, Eric?
Balance. Balance argument.
That's correct. But is it A or B?
B.
Is the second type. Correct. Because there, you're asked now whether the advantages outweigh disadvantages. Is this positive or negative, right? And the last bit, Harvey, what's that?
Balance argument A.
Very good. Okay. Sana dito na lang ang essay writing, ano? Identify the essay But guys, that's the very first thing you do. The good thing about how you are trained here is that the moment you look at the question, you're like, I know. This is opinion essay. I should use this particular format. Okay? It becomes easy. Now, let me give you guys a clincher question here. Take a look at this one. Yes, you were supposed to say something, Ellie? What do you think, guys? What kind of essay would you use here, Tim?
Enumerative.
Okay, how about you? How about you, Badette?
Positive.
Yes, Joy?
Balance argument letter B.
Okay, so there are 2. Enumerative, and there is balanced argument essay B. Now, Tim is correct, partly because this question over here is clearly enumerative, right? You're asked in what ways. you have to identify the ways. But on the other hand, Joy is also correct because you are asked whether it's good or bad, right? So what do we have here? Okay, guys, this is the kind of question where you have both. Yes. So that's what you have in pages 34 and 35. Okay. When we have, guys, a cross now between or among those kinds of questions I asked you earlier. Now, let's take a look at the example found on 34. Can you please read the topic on page 34, Gadette?
It is now becoming a trend for people to trace their family roots. Why is this the case? Is there more positive or more negative?
Okay, so notice, guys, the questions are why. That's identifying the causes, right? The other question the man asks us, is this good or bad? Okay, so you have here basically two essays in one. But guys, don't worry, because all you have to do is just devote one paragraph for each of the questions, okay? So you don't need to use any other format, just still use the same 4-paragraph outline I taught you all this time, okay? Take a look at another example on page 35. Can I ask you, Joy, to please read this for us?
Some people say that advertisements greatly influence people's choices. To what extent do you agree or disagree? What are some ways to protect consumers?
There you go. Some people that advertisements greatly influence people's choices. This is a cross between do you agree or disagree and what are the ways. So it's basically enumerative and opinion mixed together, you see? So a hybrid question, guys, occurs if an enumerative question is combined with either a balanced argument or an opinion essay question. Let me give you more examples, guys, on the board here. Take a look at this one. These have come out as well in the previous exams. Take a look at this. Poverty levels in developing countries are increasing. What help can the more developed nations extend? You have to identify what can they do. But the second question asks, should they be required to help them? That's a yes, no question, right? So it's like an opinion essay, because in an opinion essay you say yes or no, agree, disagree. Should they be required to help them? Yeah, I agree, they should. Or no, I don't think so. So it's a cross between a narrative and an opinion essay. Here's another one, guys. So the first question is, what are the problems the internet has created? That's clearly problems. 1, 2, 3. These are the problems. But you're also asked, is more regulation needed? Yeah, because it's yes, we need more, or no, I don't think we need more. So it's opinion again. Now take a look at the third one here. So you're asked for why, causes, right? What reasons? So what are the causes of people changing careers frequently all their lives? And is that a positive or a negative development? This is clearly balanced argument essay B, right? Good or bad, okay? So how do we do that? Now, can I ask you guys to take a look at the sample found on page 34? Can you please read it on your own for about 2 minutes, and then I'll discuss the outline afterwards. Okay guys, are we done? Now, if you notice, when we introduce this topic over here, we still use the same two-step approach. The very first sentence is always the paraphrase of the topic, right? In this case, since we have a fact, we say words like, it is no doubt true that, right? That's how we begin. But then guys, one of the main differences between this and the other essays we've learned is that in the second sentence over here, we actually write two things. Since you are asking us guys whether it's a positive or a negative, you also answer that question. At the same time, you also tell the reader that this essay will discuss the causes, the why. Take a look at sentence number 2 of paragraph 1. In this essay, I shall enumerate the causes why this is happening. That's the task over here. Okay? He shall enumerate the causes. At the same time, and explain why I believe that this is more positive than negative. You follow, guys? So you should be able, therefore, to give your opinion as the question requires. At the same time, tell the reader the other task you have to do, the enumerative part. You follow? So therefore, this is the enumerative part. This is the opinion part. It's over here already at the bottom. Alright? Now, your paragraph 2 is devoted to answering the first question. So in this case, you ask for causes, right? How many causes are discussed guys in paragraph 2? There are actually 2. Notice the words, the first reason, and then in the next line you have another viable reason. Okay? So each of those reasons discussed by an elaboration. So again, the TIE method works here. However, the second question, is this good or bad, is answered in paragraph 3. For him, it's more positive, right? But guys, notice in the first few lines of that same paragraph, he mentioned a little about the supposed negatives. Do you notice that? The first line, he writes, this quest for family knowledge may be time-consuming, stressful, and expensive since a person invests, time and they travel. However, he writes, I honestly feel that this is more positive. Okay? So, in other words, if you say that it's a positive thing, I encourage you guys to discuss a little about the supposed negatives. Okay, just a little lang. But make it appear that even if there are these negative things, I still feel that it's a more positive thing. So whenever therefore you're asked to say, do you agree or disagree, for example, if it's opinion, then if you say, I don't think so, then you might want to say, well, some people say like this, but I disagree still because of the following reasons, right? So in other words, a small part of your paragraph 3 will discuss a little about the opposing idea. Okay? And then the majority of this paragraph 3 will be your view. Okay? So in this case, he gives at least how many reasons, guys, why he believes it's a good thing? There are also 2. First of all, it is a priceless thing. And then the second, sabi niya, another equally important point is we satisfy our natural desire to connect to our past. That's the second reason. So therefore, for him, it's positive. Now, take a look at how he ends the essay. He writes, by and large, there are factors why people want to trace their family roots. That sentence, guys, is basically a summary of the points, okay, that he writes in paragraph 2. But then, he also has another half there that restates the opinion that he writes in paragraph 1. And he writes, and even if there are some drawbacks, as mentioned here, okay, I believe that this is more beneficial. So it basically repeats this line over here as a way to end the essay. Okay? I'll see you guys. Now, let's try discussing a topic here together and then try writing out something for yourselves. Let's take a look at, guys, this question over here. Can I flip this over? Alright. Or do you want to take a photo first? Okay. Good? Hi guys, by the way, I have sent invitations to all of you for the Google Classroom because I am preparing my slides. I'm going to share with all of you, alright? So once you have accepted my invitation on Google Classroom, you'll be able to access those files. So please do. Huh? I think there are like 4 or 5 pa na hindi pa na-confirm. So if you receive an email, please do confirm that. I can tell now, so if you have like data access on your phones, it's fairly quick, just confirm invitation. Okay, so let's take a look at this question over here. The question is, more and more people travel to other countries. That's not the question. This is the question. You want to see the question here first? Just an example lang, no? So more and more people travel to other countries. Why is this the case? Is this a positive or a negative development? Guys, when we say more and more people travel, if you are asked why, don't just say why they travel. It would not be a responsive answer if you say they travel, more and more people travel because they want a vacation, they want to relax, they want to have a job. That's not a correct answer. The answer is, why is there more and more traveling happening? So something like, because flying has become cheaper, that's a more reasonable answer. Because now more people can afford to travel, okay? Or maybe because some countries have maybe made it easier for people to travel to their countries. Like, it used to be the case that we cannot travel to Taiwan without a visa, but now we can go there visa-less, right? Hong Kong, I don't know about Korea, but definitely
Yeah, Brazil, I think.
Brazil also, yes, and many other Latin countries, yes. So it didn't used to be like that before, but now more and more people could do that because of those relaxed policies. Okay, so be careful with that, guys. Now here's another example. Take a look at this. More and more people want to own luxury and famous brands, such as cars, clothes, and gadgets. What are the reasons for this? Is this a positive or a negative development? Let's focus on this one, okay? So there are at least 3 things we have to highlight here. What are the reasons, right? Why it's positive, and why it's negative. So we have to know why it's good or bad so that later you can decide whether it's for you negative or positive. But first, what are the reasons for this? Why do you think more and more people now are buying, not just ordinary stuff, but luxury and famous brands? Now, for the purpose of this discussion, guys, I'd like to present the idea so that you can write yourselves, okay? The one idea, because the more you'll do on your own anyway, but for tonight, let me just share with you this thought. So one reason I have in mind is that the number kasi of middle income earners has increased. The middle income earners are like you and me. We are not poor, like living under the bridge kind of poor, right? We have at least, we are a little above that, right? You can travel, you can go watch a movie on a weekly basis, you can buy your kids stuff, If you can do that, you are a middle
Average.
class. Average, you are middle class. Okay. If you can do more than that, if you don't have to work too hard and still can buy and travel around the world, then you're up there. You are upper class. And I don't think we are like that, right? We wouldn't be here if we are upper class, right? So we are here. And I think you can agree with me that because there are now more middle income class earners, then more and more can actually buy luxury brands. For example, an iPhone is a luxury brand, right? It's the most expensive phone out there. But middle income earners like you and me can afford it, right? Even if no utangan lang,
Because there's a lay-by.
may Genwa pay, may afterpay,
Yes.
may lay-by. O kung di niyo po alam yan, i-google ninyo, no? Ah, okay. Okay, now as a result of that, this has been caused by general economic progress. I think you can all agree that in the Philippines, umangat yung ating lifestyle, right? As a result of that, you know, we have jobs, hence we can afford to bring our children to really good schools. Gagapangin natin yan because we can afford, right? Another thing also, guys, is on the business side. They have become so aggressive in marketing these brands, so that even if we don't need them, we feel like we have to have them, right? Just like the new iPhones today, guys. You know, you really need 3 cameras on your phone, right? But the way it's promoted is like, oh, no. You agree? Like, I'm still using, notice guys, I'm still using an iPhone SE because I think it's really a practical phone. I don't need, you know, something really sophisticated. It's still very fast. And I don't need, you know, a fancy phone. So I'm not really attracted to that iPhone 11 thing, right? But I'm for sure, you guys have felt, no, it's really good looking, right? Why? Because the way these companies market their brands is so powerful. Do you agree?
Yes.
It's almost like subliminal and effect nila when they market these things, and you don't realize that you are influenced already. Okay? Guys, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this data mining thing, but it's something that companies do, like Google, for example.
Oh, yes.
They try to mine information about their buyers so that this information can be used to persuade them. The concept is this. Give it a try. I've tried it myself. Google, when you surf the internet, say Google, you might notice that there are ads along the pages you visit.
Yes.
And these are things that you like, things that you want. You know why? Because your computer is mining information or data on you. One example that's done is audio. We tried, you guys. Speak to your computer about things you like. For example, try dog food. Dog food, dog. Repeat again and again. Refresh your browser and you'd find in the next page you'll find dog food ads.
Yes.
It's amazing. So our computers are getting information about us without us knowing. Your Facebook likes, for example, you should know this because you are in retail, right? These are ways that your information is gotten from you, and this information is used by companies to sell you stuff. It's amazing, and for me it's creepy, to be honest, right? And that's one of the reasons, guy-wise, that election back in the US when Trump won was a huge case, because apparently what happened was they used a company in the UK to mine information about Facebook users in the US, and they were able to profile the different kinds of people and therefore make targeted marketing campaigns to influence their minds to choose Trump instead. Okay, that's the power of the internet, and it's scary, to be honest, how much they can get from us. So your Facebook profiles, it's not private really. Facebook mines information about you guys. Okay, that's why they can aggressively market their products to us. You can also talk about, guys, influencers in social media. Nauso na yung mga influencers like if you have an Instagram account, you follow somebody, YouTube, you follow a YouTube channel, and they often endorse products. So it's more than just what companies do. They're now actually using people whom we look up to as influencers, as they're called, right? And we didn't have this 10, 20 years ago, right? We only had like movie stars, for example, right? Endorsing like Vilma Stars endorsing Eskimo, for example. That's so 80s. Okay, so that's the reason why. Aggressive marketing and our level of standard of living has gone up. We can afford. Now, why is this positive? I think it's good, guys, because it drives economies. Meaning, because there's a lot of buying going on, alright? It means that we provide somebody in China some job, okay? Some sort of livelihood, for example, okay? So it's good. Of course, you can always talk about, bragging rights, for example, but we talk about this development here. So it's not just an individual thing, but rather a social thing. So for me, the social impact, guys, is very economic. However, there are a couple of bad things I'd like to mention here. Number one, it encourages the so-called consumerism. Meaning, because we buy, and credit is a lot easier to have now than it used to, then people get into debt. Okay? The US is a debt economy, a debt-driven economy. Okay? They can afford stuffs because it's so easy to get it on credit. Right? Maraming utang mga Americanos actually. An average American owns at least 3 credit cards. Right? If you have a relative, ask them. Okay? It can be bad for economies if people are in debt. That's what caused the 2009 financial crisis. Okay? It can be bad for the environment because it means we produce more, we get more from the environment. We also produce more garbage because if we buy luxury and famous brands, for example, we have more and more doing that. Oftentimes, these luxury brands are discarded very easily, right? Look at the iPhone. Every year there's a new phone, right? There's always fashionable clothes coming out, but they're used only like for a short period of time. So what happens? We throw them, okay? And we also do this at the same time, okay? See you guys. For the next 15 minutes, can you try writing something, about this topic? Just a warm-up, guys. And then see if you have other ideas besides what I quoted here, then, feel free to use them.